Welcome to a special episode of the Post Meridian Radio Players podcast. As we await the premiere of Season 3, we present another discussion of the PMRP's past with our founders, Neil Marsh and Rob Noyes.
All right, let's move on to Tomes of Terror, which I guess you guys did the year after Chicken Heart. What's the story of Tomes of Terror?
We realized we had an idea. I mean, we had 45 people at the Chicken Heart. Yeah, we actually thought that was really good.
It was enough to make us think we could record it, right, at the very least.
One of the things that happened during my research into the Canadian series Nightfall was I got to meet a lot of the playwrights, or via either the phone or internet or in person. One of them was named Len Peterson. He was one of the foremost Canadian playwrights of his day. He did like 5 adaptations of classic stories, including The Monkey's Paw and The Stone Ship by William Howard Hodgson, both of which I wanted to do. And I asked him if he might. He said, no problem. I'm more than happy to let you to do something with them. And then John Douglas was another, and he did adaptations. In particular, he did an adaptation of The Lady's Maid's Bell by Edith Wharton. He passed away in the early 90s, but I encountered his sister, and she was like, oh, please do whatever you want. So I had permission to basically do any number of 8 or 9 episodes of Nightfall. And I don't know why we chose the ones we did. It was The Maid's Fell.
Maid's Fell, and then Monkey's Paw, and then a Fibber McGee and Molly episode. You start.
Nice.
Gilder Flea's Halloween part.
It worked great because we realized we had a formula.
Yeah.
The 3-act structure was great because we start with a comedy, a light piece, and then we would do the chiller, sort of the atmospheric, scary ones. Our second acts for those were always like Carmilla. We did
Rain or Die. Rain or just the second beautiful in 3,
and then the thriller for the final act. The real
Monkey's Paw.
Monkey's Paw worked so well. Stone Ship later on was a fantastic third actor.
Now Stone Ship is on the in the CD collection, so if you haven't put it out yet, definitely.
It is on the list.
I hope so. It's really a fun.
Although, is there a recording of Monkey's Paw?
Well, not exact. A friend had loaned me her digital recorder. Unfortunately, I just could not make heads or tails of it in time for the show.
Okay.
This was the first time I'd done sound design for such an extensive show. Chicken Heart was my sort of primer, but it was one of those times when I learned how much time I need to allocate to do sound design for 2 shows. Usually the comedy had no digital because the focus on that was all Foley. The camera recordings exist. They're not great, but 2 years later, I did take the casts, almost the full casts from the original live shows for Tomes 1 and recorded them. I like having the video recordings off of video because it'll help us like remember what we did when, and what things are meant to sound like.
Piece it all back together.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing we came up with was, I think the idea of the library come first.
No, it didn't. This is great. This is where I was researching the other night. In the 9,700 emails that I looked back through, didn't delete. We originally called the show the Trilogy. It was like a staged radio trilogy, and at some point we were batting around ideas, and we're like, we need a host for this. We do need some sort of connective tissue, and like the Crypt Keeper, some sort of horror host that could give puns, and we're doing all these stories, and I think that's where we'll sort of just hit upon the library idea of a library of supernatural tales that are so terrible you just can't check them out. You have to sort of come in and dive into the dungeon to get at them. But even then, you're not assured that you're going to make it out all right.
You sure you will the way it would be led. Yeah, and I think then Tomes of Terror came from that, but we did keep Trilogy as a tagline. A radio drama trilogy. So we kept that part of it.
Then at this point too, I should point out that we were there were 3 of us basically running the show here. Neil and I and Renee Johnson, Renee Walsh, I think now.
It is Renee Johnson Walsh.
Yes. She acted as a real full producer, and then each of us sort of took over one of the acts, more or less. Yeah, or either directing or otherwise. I didn't start directing until the year after that. Matt Kimmel did Fibber McGee.
Oh, that's right.
He directed that with
Really?
which was great because I think we'd already worked together in You Can't Take It With You.
Right. Yeah. On stage, there's a theater at first did You Can't Take It With You in like 2006 or something.
I think this, and the three of us, basically, brought in this show, and the goal was to have the proceeds from the live shows fund whatever studio projects we were doing at the time, and we were coming up with those. But the response to Chicken Heart was nice. Not Chicken Heart, I mean Tomes.
Well, Tomes wanted, and that was one thing is that we thought we'd just do one night, like we did with Chicken Heart, and everybody was like, I'm thinking they're putting all this work into it. So at the last minute, we decided to add a second night. I think with one person, you had to have the role filled, but otherwise, we did a second night. One of the things about that show was I had invited Renee to be involved, and I said, I have a play if you're interested in directing it. And I told her about The Maid's Bell, and she's a Wharton fan. She hadn't read that story, but she went to look it up. And she said, I'll do it. Now, I had never worked with Renee as a director before. And she is an audiophile. And so she gave me a collection of music to say, I want to use these pieces. They were from a band guy, Vossar Proniferous. I'm sure I got it wrong. Ray will correct me with a vengeance when she hears that. And I can't remember the name of the other one, but she had gotten permission from these artists to use them for the live show. And we're running the show with her music for the first time. And this is the first scene, or the second scene, in the kitchen with Mr. Wace and the staff. And I'm playing this piece in the background, and I'm putting this together. I'm going, I don't think this music I just don't get this music. When it was combined with the scene, Rob and I just kind of looked at each other with our mouths hanging open. And Renee's like, it was like, I let her just have free reign after that.
That's fantastic. And was it the same librarian? Because I know you guys did at least 3 Tomes of Terror.
Under us, there were 3.
Rennie Boyd, was it?
Rennie was the librarian, and not only for Tomes, but also the first by part.
Right. She played a librarian. In the first by part show. Where
all I ever cast her was librarian roles, but no, she was perfect for it. Very, very fussy. We worked out. It was through work with a librarian that we worked out phrases. Her silence, please, her due date line, the fod, relish.
There's loyalty day you could never escape. I love that line so much.
And request as many renewals as we wish. So once we got like the voice of the show down, it filled in so well.
Yeah.
Did we perform the first year? Was there one performance like in the church sanctuary upstairs? Did we have one night upstairs, or was that like for the dress rehearsal?
That might have been a dress rehearsal. I don't think we did a live show upstairs. Not until much later.
Because I was wondering about. Okay. Yeah. With memories of doing the Fibber McGee and Molly in that sanctuary space.
Well, maybe someone who was involved in it can remind me, but I can't recall. I enjoy being the institutional memory for the group, but that institutional memory is starting to degrade. I think I need to upgrade to an SSD drive to retain everything.
Those services where they take your old media and convert it into something permanent. You just need to ship yourself to one of those.
Sure, to wherever.
We have like a memory cube.
Exactly. Yeah.
We will present more of these discussions in the future. Stay tuned for the premiere of our 3rd season next Wednesday, April 29th. See you then.